another great opportunity to connect with you and answer your questions. And that's why we're here today. So, my name is Montana Scott. I'm the Recruitment and Business Development Coordinator with Student Housing, and I'm accompanied by a ton of supervisors today. Why don't we do a little bit of a round table and introduce ourselves? Shauna, I see you first. Would you like to start?
Thanks, Montana. So my name's Shauna Carlo. I'm the Service Center and Operations Coordinator. So I oversee a lot of staff. We'll go through the positions in a bit, but I do oversee a lot of the student staff positions here.
Thank you so much, Shauna.
Nicole?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So my name is Nicole, and I'm the Community Housing Coordinator. So I work for student housing, but I support students living off campus.
So, and I see Amelia next.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Amelia Monday. I use she, her pronouns. I work as the Residence Education Coordinator at Trent Student Housing, and I oversee a position called the Residence Life and Education Assistants. And those folks work really closely with the Residence Life Dons, who I also work very closely with.
Thank you so much, Amelia. And I do want to give some special credit to some folks behind the scenes today as well. Recruitment assistant, that role is getting renamed to communications assistant. More on that later. Raisa is helping support the webinar today. And Michelle Sparks is such a great leader when it comes to the hiring project. So thank you, Michelle, for being here today as well. And I think we can, oh, perfect. Jonah's right here as well. Hi, Jonah. Would you like to introduce yourself? He might not have been able to hear me yet. Let's find out. Okay, Jonah's still connecting. I will ask Jonah to introduce himself when we get to the Residence Life Dawn portion. All right, let's move to the next slide. Okay, so a little bit of an announcement. If you saw our email or our social media, we have extended our hiring campaign. We heard you. It's a busy time of year, and we're hoping that by extending the application window to after the break, you will have time to focus on your exams and then focus on submitting an application if you haven't already. So again, January 5th is the deadline to submit an application with us. We would love to see one from you. And some key dates that will still be important to you. So it's December 6th at 6 p.m. right now. Congratulations, you made it to the Working with Housing live stream. We are going to have an opportunity for questions at the end, but you're also welcome to drop some questions in the chat. We'll get to those throughout this session as well. January 5th, as I mentioned before, that is the deadline to submit your application with us. January 29th to 31st, we will be conducting interviews. So in between that window, you will have some correspondence from us. We will contact you if you submit an application. February 13th, that's when we'll send out offers of employment. So you'll expect to hear us by then. March 4th, hiring paperwork is due. All of those little administrative details that we need to get you paid and get the ball rolling. And then everybody's favorite part is late August training when we all come together and figure out exactly how we're going to do it for the next year. I just want to address something for some potential returners in the room. If you have not already, I know we're getting closer to the date, but prepare for your performance evaluation because that is a part of our hiring process for returners. And during your application, be sure to select returning applicant, even if you're thinking of a different position than you are currently working. And your application score composed of your resume and cover letter, it will be graded and considered in the hiring decision. It still will be, you got to submit. And your current supervisor will not be able to be a reference for you for that application. So you're going to have to sort out some other references for us to call upon as well. All right, and let's get into talking about some of the roles. Who wants to take it away?
Thanks, Montana. I can start talking about the admissions and occupancy assistant. So this is a position that works very closely with our occupancy team. So they are responsible for assisting with the residence application process. They support bookings for the living learning communities, and they also work with students with accessibility and unique needs requests. We kind of look at this position as they are mostly working with students that are going to be coming to Trent. Very involved in that residence application process, but ultimately they're looking at bringing people into Trent residence.
Awesome. And that's a live out position.
Yes. We're going to get into the housing admissions assistance. So very similar to the AOA position, but ultimately this is a summer only position. So it's a live out as well. You don't need to live in residence, or you don't have to have lived in residence. You don't need to have that experience. But ultimately, it's a summer position. So they will be responding to prospective student inquiries, escalating and triage student and parent concerns. They'll also be helping support the summer resident students. We do run one of our service centers during the summer. So that's where summer resident students would go for assistance when it comes to lockouts, or that's where they pick up their packages in mail as well. And this is just a summer only position. And then the service center position. We do have 4 service centers on Trent campus. There is 1 in Durham and 3 in Peterborough. So the service center assistants, they're like the front desk for residents. So they're helping respond to service center inquiries. They support the residents in wayfinding, lockout assistance. Again, that's where they go to pick up their mail and parcels. And they're just there to help troubleshoot any concerns or maintenance requests that may come in or things that may come up. They're just the front desk, the concierge of residents. And this again is a live out position. You don't have to have lived in residence during that time.
We have a little break for a testimonial from Dorcas, who is a service center assistant this year. So Dorcas thinks that working with student housing is a great balance between work and studies and allows her to manage time effectively while being part of a welcoming and supportive community. Thank you so much for your service, Dorcas. And back to residence operations assistant.
This is a new position. For this, the residence operation assistants will be helping me specifically with the planning and logistics of large scale housing events such as move in and move out. They'll also take lead of the yearly key audit, which happens during the summer months. So this position is from March till September, so it's a bit of a different than other contracts here. So during March and April, it would be a part-time work, so about 10 hours a week as everyone's finishing up school and exams during that time. And then during May through beginning of September to Labor Day, it would be a full-time position at 35 hours a week. So this might be interesting to people that are looking into event planning or are very organized and want to see something play out. Move-in it's a big responsibility and it's fun though. Everyone's coming to campus and there's a lot of logistics going on that day. This is a new position, but I'm excited for it.
And so for the off-campus housing assistant, there's a position both in Peterborough and at Durham, and it supports our students living off campus or transitioning from residence to off campus. Some of the tasks that go along with this position will be running our social media, responding to inquiries of our students, as well as creating and providing programming to our students who live off campus. And it is a live out position. So our community assistants, this is a new position this year. And it has the option of either living in or out. So something new in student housing this year is our upper year residents. And so this is where students, some of our mature students or our graduate students will live, and it's located at Zosky Annex. And so, like I mentioned, it's a new position this year, but it will be providing programming and support to these students through, again, if they need to know where the service centers are, if they have any questions on facilities requests, those type of things. So they will be providing programming, support a friendly and safe community, provide access to campus resources, and just designing a learning experience for our residences.
It's time for another intermission. Fun fact, did you know that you can hold multiple roles with us? Yes, you can combine your skills, learn more about student housing, and make a little bit more money. Oh, this is me. Okay, awesome. Communications assistant. So last year, this role was called recruitment assistant. This year, it's called communications assistant. The role is going to look very similar. You would get to support Trent U Housing social media. That's making content with other student staff, making content with residents. You can learn how to administer a real marketing campaign. I'm a Trent business grad, and I have a little bit of a marketing and communications background before coming here. And I would love to share my experience with you and help build your career if this is something you're really passionate about. And of course, there is open house and tours plus events. So you'll be out in the community, speaking with people, and learning how to plan an event and measure how that all went. So, and it's a live out position and pretty flexible as well. So I'd love to see your application. And now we have Residence Life done. Jonah, would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about the role?
Absolutely, I can. So my name is Jonah, and I am one of five residence life coordinators because we do have um, a student housing coordinator over at Durham, slightly different role, but we do similar things. But I'm one of five residence life coordinators over here on the Peterborough campus. We oversee the college residences, and we also help to support student staff called Residence Life Dons who work in these buildings. So as a Residence Life Don, there's a number of positions there's a number of roles within this position depending on your experience. So there's the senior residence life don who sort of leads the team. There's also experienced residence life dons who are coming back, who've been residence life dons before and are coming back and they're sort of mentors on the team. And we then have residence life dons who are residence life dons for the first time. This position really is to help housing support the living experience in residence, supporting students and not enforcing, sorry, ensuring that residence standards are being met. So that means educating students in the community on residence standards as well. Um, Residence Life Done also um, is a resource for their peers living in residence, right? So you get training on most of the resources on campus, and yeah, and that's just some of what the Residence Live Dawn does.
Thank you, Jonah.
Awesome. The next position that we have is the Residence Life and Education Assistants. And they work very closely with the Residence Life Dons to support the learning that happens within residence. So, as Jonah was saying, the Dons do many things within their roles, including supporting communities, learning, providing opportunities of belonging, and community planning and development. And the RLEAs are the behind the scenes student staff position that really help with the planning of and the support of implementing these opportunities. So the RLEAs will work on the curriculum of the learning that happens within residents through the residence learning model. They also work really closely with the living learning communities. So working closely with the housing administrative assistants who work with the living learning communities. Shauna, correct me if that's the position. That once there are students who are applying to live in living learning communities, they support the grading of those applications as well as what type of programming happens within residents. The RLEAs are also support the development of posters, facilitation guides, and other educational resources to help with preventative or responsive education opportunities in residents. They also will help design learning experiences or events or community development opportunities. So it's a really fun position. We're looking forward to seeing all those applications.
So this is not the only place you can get support with your application. You can check out our website, trentu.ca/housing/hiring for all of the details. They're all on one page. Our housing portal is where you can apply. Should start on the website because it gives you a couple of instructions, but then you can get to the portal through that. And then if you haven't check out our social media. We have testimonials there. We have staff who are speaking to their experiences, and we'll provide you with any hiring updates there as well. And on that webpage is some application support. CareerSpace put on a variety of workshops that you may or may not have attended up until now, but don't worry, those resources are still available to you. That QR code will link you to the PDF that looks exactly like this graphic here. But you can go onto the CareerSpace website or our hiring page and access some resources to help you get a really great resume and a really great cover letter into us, because those points, they actually really do matter. We bet you're a great employee, but you have to get through the application process in one piece first. And if I may, I would like to at least click on the application and walk through a little bit with you. So, Raisa, I'm going to start sharing my screen in a second, um, if you'll have me. Okay. Can everybody see that? Yes? Yeah, I see the panel can see it. Okay, great. So I'm going to use my student login because yes, I was a Trent student. And your portal might look a little bit like this. Join the team. Employment application is right in the top left corner. So after you've read all of the supporting resources and advice on the website, you'd visit here, click the employment application. My button says continue because I did a practice round before doing this webinar, but yours might say start. And you'll have a whole bunch of different pages right here walking you through the process. I'm not going to go through all of the pages specifically, but just giving you an example of what you can come to expect when you are applying for us. We'll ask you about your term, we'll ask you the campus, and how you heard about us, maybe at the webinar. All right. Raisa, can you come back to sharing the PowerPoint? No pressure. Because I think we're just going into the question section anyway. Yeah, perfect screen. All right. So this is the QR code for you to apply yourself. And we're just going to leave this up on the screen and open up the floor to any questions that you may have. And I'm just going to check the chat in case anything is already here.
Thanks, Montana. Sorry, we did just notice one position that was missed, and that is our facilities assistants. Apologies, everyone. It was there. Technology, right? So we do want to make sure that everyone knows that we also have multiple facilities assistants that support our residents team. And they do many things such as triage facilities requests or maintenance requests, as well as, preparing the rooms for move-in day, moving furniture, many things that, the professional staff and student staff ask them to do. So it is another great position to be able to get out into the residences and get to meet also all of the professional staff. Thank you.
Thanks for mentioning that, Nicole. Facilities assistant might be interesting to you. I also want to mention I saw someone raise their hand, and we'll accept a raised hand for sure. I know it's down by now. I don't remember the name. But we're getting questions in the Q&A section. So we're gonna say those verbally, and you can put your question in there and we will talk about it. I'm gonna start asking questions here right now. Am I eligible to apply if I'm going to graduate in August 2025? Amelia, would you like to answer that question?
I'm happy to. Our positions are largely geared to current students. So the requirement would be that you are in a full-time course load to be employed with us, unless it was through the summer term, with plans on returning in September. So as much as we would love to work with you in these positions, they are intended for current students only.
I think is there one exception, Shauna or Nicole? Did you say that there's a summer position that turns full-time that might apply to this person? Am I making this up?
For myself, like for the HAA position is only a summer position. So it is from May till like Labor Day. So if the student is in summer classes and is a current student of Trent, and although they may be graduating in August, they would still qualify for this position. That is as well as the residence operation assistant. Again, that position kind of runs summer only. So as long as you are in classes during the summer, then yes, you would qualify for those positions.
That's awesome. Thank you, Shauna.
Great, great. All right. Tons of questions in the chat. Awesome. My name is Maliha. I just completed my master's. Congratulations. I was going through the job description vacancy, stated that you need to be a full-time student for each position. However, I've graduated recently and was really interested in applying. I think that the answer to the last question still applies to you. Congratulations on graduating, Malia. You may have missed this window unless you're applying for summer. Oh, but you've already graduated. Yeah, sorry. But thanks for joining us. Riley, does the communications position begin after the summer? If I remember correctly, Riley, we might have a summer position ahead of the academic year. They might be separate roles, but we're probably keen to continue that role as well. So it depends. There are a variety of options, and you should check it out. What are the positions that start sooner around April or May? It sounds like we have a lot of folks that are trying to get in this year. And I'll encourage you to actually check within the hiring application, because if you filter through the time that you're interested in, you will find the positions available. So scan that QR code, and Raisa, can you switch to the QR code slide? Thank you. And you'll be able to find a time period that works for you. Anonymous attendee, can I meet the hiring team in person after applying online? Well, kinda, yeah, sure. So after applying online, you are welcome to meet us. you can book time to meet us, I suppose. I mean, if you wanted to book a tea with me, I would make the time for you. Now, granted, this isn't going to be like a part of the formal hiring process, and I would not use this to judge whether or not I'm going to hire you. But if you wanted like general questions answered, or you wanted to learn more about like my career and how I could help you build yours, these are definitely things I'm interested in. Um, but a lot of the opportunities we've been making, they've been like kind of this month. Any other folks want to answer that question?
I think the only thing that I would add here, if the question is related to kind of our hiring process, um, typically our online applications, once you submit that, if we do go through the process, is the question maybe geared towards, and we can answer this, whether we will be interviewing in person or not?
For the can I meet the hiring team in person?
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe.
oh, yes, yes. We do in-person interviews. I think for every position, yes. Yeah, we're doing in person. You will meet us.
I
Hmm.
think unless there's a formal accommodation request required,
Yes.
yes, that we are hoping that all of our interviews can be in person.
So quite the multi-pronged answer. We like to be accessible to you, but we're also going to follow process. How many weeks would the summer training be in August for the service center position? Um, in the past, I would say that we have blocked off about 2 weeks of training, and that's with all the folks. It's really fun. It's a really fun way for everybody to connect right before the academic year. Um, any other additional thoughts or rumors about training for this year for the SCAs?
For that position, in the past, what we've done is 2 weeks. So the first week will be like in class training, which is very incorporated with the residence life side, so the Dons, um, with that team. And then the second week is more hands-on training. So the service centers would be open and it's more shadow shifts and more hands-on experience, like one-on-one training type, not necessarily the classroom type.
And while we're on the topic of training, these 2 weeks are kind of like a boot camp where you stay on campus with us. So just prepare for that as well. Another question, if I don't have reference from a previous employer, can I still apply? Yes, yes, you can. And perhaps open your mind to what a reference might be. You know, maybe you have volunteered for an organization for a number of years. Maybe you were a camp counselor. Um, maybe you have a neighbor and you've been walking her dog for 2 years and they can provide you a reference. We understand that you're a student and these are the early stages of your career. So some folks might have a couple of jobs under their belt. Some folks might have different ways to represent their lived experience. And yeah, we're open to that. It might not be an employer in your position, but there might be somebody in your life that can attest to you, your character. Any other thoughts on that one? Can someone provide an example of a reference they've seen or used in the past?
Yeah, I don't mind providing that. I've seen folks who have gotten references from teachers that they've worked really close with, or from if they've been on sports teams, they've had coaches. I've had assistant captains, so kind of the peer level uh, in a sport capacity, be more of a character reference for somebody. And so even though you might not have a professional like employer in the past, these positions are geared towards folks who this would be their first position working with an employer. So if you can have someone speak to your commitment to organization, your communication skills, your ability to maybe be an event planner, and maybe those are events are more like geared towards volunteering or something along those lines. It, as Montana said, getting creative with it can be very adventurous, and it can also show us what opportunities you've had in the past that might help bring skill sets to the team that you're applying to.
Thank you, Amelia. Um, Can I apply to many positions at the same time? You sure can, Ahmad. We have student staff on payroll right now that hold multiple roles, and they really enjoy having that flexibility in their schedule, and we really enjoy having their skill set because they're learning multiple things. If I apply for a residence life dawn as a student who is currently living on campus and get the position for September, will I have to move out in April and back in September? Who'd like to answer that question?
I can answer that question. So, the residence live Don position is a live-in position, and Dons, when they're hired, are assigned to communities. So we divide up residence buildings into different communities, and Dons are responsible for an assigned community. So depending on the community that you get assigned to, you may be required to live in that community and support that community. So if you were to apply in January for the Don role for the 25-26 academic year, you will not be asked to move in January, but when you're coming back in August, whatever community you've been assigned to is the community that you'll be living in for that academic year. I don't know if that answers the question.
I'll just add that um, we actually we transition into a multi-use purpose for our buildings with conference services. So as student housing, we can't guarantee that you could keep your stuff in your room, for example, because we will be using that room for other purposes. So unfortunately, you will have to move out after your contract of living in residence with us. And if you come back as a residence life Dawn, as Jonah had mentioned, you'll move into your assigned community with your team that are built up with a diverse skill set of folks that create a holistic team environment together. So we can't guarantee which college you'd be placed in or which team. We really build those teams based off of making sure that we have a good mix of folks to support a residence building.
Yes,
Brand.
just to
Can I?
confirm. Yeah,
No,
so
go ahead.
you you move out in April because all students are required to move out in April except they're approved for summer stay, which um that's a different um that's a different case entirely, but all students are required to move out in April. So you move out in April. If you're successful, then you're hired and you're required to be back for training mid-August, I'd say.
Thank you, Amelia. Nicole, you had something to say.
No, I was just going to say, because we do have summer residents and you're able to live there even if you're not a Dawn. We do have Dawn positions, but you're still able to live there even if you're not a Dawn. So,
Do
But
you
you just couldn't guarantee like your stuff is all in the same spot, I think is yeah. Amelia, sorry.
My last thing is that I think we really try to support dawns and communicate early if there are any changes within any structure of living, because we know how having employment tied to the living situation can mean a lot and it has a lot of implications. And I think that the residence life coordinators are very good at communicating early when it comes to deadlines and different things like that.
Awesome. Well, um, I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat right now. I'll give a little bit more space for a raised hand. Any, oh, I heard a new question. Where is it? A question about the residence operations assistant position. As an international student, we can only work 24 hours a week. Will Nicole consider people like me since we cannot work full time in the summer?
Um, I I'm not sure about that question. For international students, does the hours change during the summer months, or is that just during school year? Does anyone know that?
It we wouldn't want to speak to visa restrictions, but I think that there have been some changes if it depends on the current course load. I think a lot of the time, if you are between terms and not taking courses, that restriction does change, but definitely would recommend speaking to the international immigration advisor before making that decision. And I think there is time to book an appointment with that person so that you can get a really clear answer about what applies to your situation.
And I also think in this situation, apply. If you're interested,
Yeah.
apply for the position, and just make it very clear in your cover letter if once you do find out what your restrictions are, if it is only 24 hours a week, just making sure that you're making that clear in the cover letter. So then when we're reviewing it, we'll take note of that. But unfortunately, I don't know that answer off the top of my head.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to leave a little bit more space for a raised hand, a little bit more space for some question and answer section. Any thoughts or stories from hiring past anybody would like to bring up while I give this last 2 minutes?
I was just going to suggest when you're reading the job applications, and we ask some questions for you to answer in your cover letter, just to make sure that you are putting the time and the detail into those. Those are scored when we're reviewing the resumes.
Maybe I'll give a little hint too. This is like an evolving one. Um, Try and remember, we're the folks that are reviewing all of these applications, and we're gonna like review a lot of them back to back. So if you're using AI to write your cover letter, try and stand out, because if everybody's using the same AI for their cover letter, they might start to sound the same. Just saying. I'm just checking to see if there was another question. I don't think so. Just one was answered. Okay. Well, folks, I am going to wrap it up early just because we're not getting any more inquiries, I suppose. But we are available to answer your questions. I am just going to drop our email in the chat. We have a special one just for hiring. It's called workwithhousing@trentu.ca. If you email us there, we will be able to answer your application, your role, your timing questions in due time, because we are real people and it does take time to reply to you. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for your application. If you have already applied and you're just trying to warm up for your interview here, thank you so much for considering student housing as a place to help build your career. Um, any last thoughts from the team before I say goodbye? Great. Thank you all. Oh, Jonah.
Oh, I was just gonna say just that folks should take the time to familiarize themselves with the positions that they're interested in. It would be really helpful in preparation for like an interview. That's all I was gonna say.
Awesome. Yeah, great advice. And on that note, thank you again.